talking.
My name is Kassandra. I am 15 years old, and today is December 12th of 2018, and I'm speaking with Joe, who is my dad, and we are recording this interview in Chicago, Illinois. So one question that I have is, like, tell me where you grew up.
I was born in Chicago, and throughout the school year, of course, I was in Chicago. Usually in the summers, I used to spend them in Puerto Rico. That's where my mom and dad were born, and that's where they came from when they were very young. And I was able to, I guess, spend the summers and was able to, see how different the culture was in Puerto Rico to how it was to Chicago. Of course, the language, predominantly everybody spoke Spanish. In Chicago, where you had, everybody has their own type of language, but over there it's just strictly Spanish. The foods were, of course, their own type of food. But wasn't too many differences. But it was a nice experience. First language, of course, my dominant language growing up was Spanish because that's all I spoke. It wasn't until I got older that I kept getting better in my English and was able to shed my accent. Mm-hmm. But I grew up in a very in a house that was very prideful as far as my dad always was. You speak Spanish here and you speak English in school, so he had his hand on that. Overall, I was just like any other normal kid. Aside of that, being in Puerto Rico, like I said, it was different. I was able to, be in the farm, dealing with the livestock, the pigs, the cows, stuff that I didn't see in Chicago, of course. Just a lot of things that were just different. But overall, it was a cool experience, and I'm glad that I was able to experience it. Everything else, like I said, when I was in the city, was school and just dealing with the big city life, I guess. And I was very quiet, very shy. Pretty much like 5 years old. I think my parents thought I was mute because they took me to a doctor to check if I actually had like a speech problem. I just wouldn't talk. I was just very quiet. And then after that, it just took off. Then you couldn't keep me quiet. I just loved talking after that. But I was only son. I do have two older sisters. They're 11 years and 9 years older than I am. So I, grew up practically not lonely, but kind of like almost felt like since I was a boy and I was much younger than my sisters. Almost felt like I was the only child. They had their own life. But overall, just enjoy the life of playing outside. I would definitely be outside all the time when I didn't. If it was during school time, of course, I would finish my homework. After that, I'd be outside playing, just kid games. When it was in the summer, of course, well, that'd be morning to night. So the sun baking me all day, I looked like a charcoal. So you definitely knew when I left to Puerto Rico and came back, because definitely the suntan was my life growing up.
What was your childhood like?
Kind of explained with everything that I talked about. Like my childhood was, like I said, I had two older sisters. Didn't have a brother. I had my dad and my mom. I was very spoiled. I was the youngest. At the same time, my dad was very strict with me because, I was a boy. Um, Overall, I had my chores. I was always taught to help around the house. I was always taught to respect your elders. Um, One thing is my dad loved doing was when he have his friends around, they've always talked to me how life was. He always thought that talking to people that were older would show me wisdom for later in life, and it would help me. And some of the people have just very interesting stories, and I think that it helped me with maturity. And like I said, my dad expected me to conduct myself in a certain way, so I always try to walk a straight line. My mom, of course, was more like, just let him be a kid, grow up to be a kid, he'll figure it out. So they kind of had their own different philosophies. Like I said, my dad was just very prideful of, being born in Puerto Rico. So he wanted me to completely dominate the Spanish language, be able to write it, read it. That's why I think it was a little tougher in school when I first started, because I said Spanish pretty much my first language, so I had to, I was behind other kids in English, but eventually I was able to, as I got better, more experience on it, I was able to dominate it, and, it just, now pretty much is actually my first language. I still know my Spanish, but pretty much English is what I always use. I write, read, everything's English. But, the childhood is something that I guess I grew up in the 80s. There was no video games. Just I would play all types of regular games, baseball, everything that had to deal with games being played outside, or anything that dealt with a ball. Definitely was into music during the time in the 80s. The artist Michael Jackson was very, very big in our household. We listened to Michael Jackson a lot, and Prince, rest in peace to both of them. They were very influential with music, and to me the best music during that time.
Would you ever change the way you grew up?
No, I would never change it, because I think I was able to learn a lot about life, and like I said, I was born in the best time, because life is very different from when I grew. So I've been able to experience both lives. Aside from how you were born in this millennial, you'll never get to experience what I did. So I guess I'm lucky. I was born at my time, and it was just a very cool experience. Things have changed very quickly from then, I think, but it was the best time of my life, and I would never change anything of it.
What would be your favorite childhood memory?
Specific, but I guess my best experience was the only time that we really did travel, all of us as a family, my mom, dad, my sisters, all together. We were able to go to New York, and it was just a lot of family I had never met, and it just it was pretty cool just to be around all the family. I would have said Puerto Rico would have been the first one, but of course it just seemed like, since I went every summer, with my mom, of course it was just like, it was almost like a given I was gonna go. And a lot of times my dad wouldn't go, since he had to stay working. So when we went to New York, was probably the best time. It was pretty cool, huge city, and just seeing everybody, all the new family members I didn't know, and it was something that all of us were able to do together.
What was the worst thing you did when you were a kid?
Oh, geez. I don't know which one would be, from best to worst. I mean, I guess, having lied to, my parents. And, it's one of those things where my parents always had trust, and it had to do with, me taking a candy bar, like the dumbest thing. I don't know why I did it. Just grabbed it and thought nothing of it. And just kind of really disappointed my parents. Pretty much I wanted it, and they didn't want to buy it for me, because there's times I used to, love candy, and if I ate candy, of course I wouldn't want to eat the house food, and of course the house food was more important. The rice and chicken, like they say, was the most important thing, right? So, but I was just tired of it, so, we had stepped out to the store, and, just, sticky fingers grabbed the candy bar and took it. Of course, they found out. They were very disappointed, and they told me if I wanted it something that bad, if I was going to do something like that, I actually would have bought it. But I think it was the trust. But overall, I was very young, and, it's something that I make sure for the rest of my life, and my dad, which has since passed, that will never disappoint him again. And pretty much I never heard otherwise. I don't think I ever disappointed him again.
Did you ever regret it?
Yeah, of course. It's something, what I did was bad enough, but I think when your parents don't even get mad at you and just get very disappointed, it's the worst feeling. I would have preferred to have gotten hit or yelled at. Just like that, I figure that the punishment would have fit the crime, but the fact they didn't say anything just told me they were just very disappointed in their look, and pretty much they looked like they were hurt. I guess, bothered me more than anything. And at a young age, I just saw how disappointed they were, so.
Are there any funny stories that people tell you about from when you were growing up?
Funny stories of what I did?
Yeah.
I guess when I was smaller, I can't remember this for the life of me, but if it was a dog or if it was a smaller pig or whatever it was, I wanted to ride it like a horse. And, for the life of me, I just can't remember. They used to say when I was a kid, I used to get on them and ride them. And that was pretty funny, the way they described it to me. It sounds hilarious, but I don't remember. But, I just thought, I do remember the times I thought I was a cowboy, of course. And I did love horses, but they were just too big for me to ride, so they probably felt it was a more clever idea to, I don't know, to put me on a dog or a pig. I'm just hoping that, that my weight didn't hurt their back or something riding me.
Lastly, if you could go back and relive your childhood, would you?
Yeah, definitely. I miss my childhood, and I miss the people I've lost, which includes my my dad, uncles, aunts, cousins of mine that were my age, which tragically I didn't. At least I have the memories, but I wish I could go back and even see my grandparents, which are not with us anymore, and just remember those good times and be appreciative of it, which I was, but just tell them that I was appreciative of it, because there were some of my best moments in life, and just the fabric of how life was. We're so close. I still have my family, have love for my cousins and aunts and uncles, but I guess everybody's in their own life, so I don't see them like I used to. Before it was different. Before it was like a big holiday. Everybody used to just always meet up, and everybody just had dinner, and just everybody talk. We just do activities together. So those were the good times. But I guess everybody's busy and they've moved on with their own life.
Would that be like one of the biggest reasons why you would want to go back?
Yeah, of course. It'd be awesome to go back and knowing what I know now, of course. Probably be able to invest and have a lot of money now, yes. But, yeah, that's one of the main reasons, of course. Just being a kid's the best time. It just seemed like Christmas and all the holidays were just way bigger. Thanksgiving was a day that we cherish. We weren't thinking about Black Friday, all these things, times where we were able to say Merry Christmas, now it's just like Happy Holidays. And I understand people have different religions and beliefs and all that, but it just seemed everything's become so bland and so vanilla. I thought everything was more jubilation, more happiness. I don't know, so many different things go on. It's just, I don't see the happiness with life how I used to see it.
What would you tell today's youth, like, and how it's different from when you grew up?
Well, it's like I said, it's different in the sense that I think there was more respect. There's not a lot of respect with youth. When I grew up as a kid, my parents were always on me, made sure that you had to respect your elders, even if they're a year older than you respect everybody. I think the world now, there's no respect. Everybody's doing their own thing. There's, more insecurities, more people just, for any little thing, people get triggered. People just want to fight. Just, there's more violence. There's more things that happen now that you just, like, there's been crimes, forever, of course, but I think now it seems like everybody's such a, so high strung, so on edge. Those times were definitely sunnier times. The everything from politics to everything you could think of. There were much innocent times, and like I said, the greatest thing was to be able to experience how life was, with music, the way people dress. It's just completely different. I think the time now is cool because you have technology and all that, so that's fine, that's great. But I grew up in a time where if I wanted to talk to somebody, I'd call them. It wouldn't be texting or, those things of sending out a Christmas letter. You don't see a lot of these things now. Those things seem like they're ancient times. And when you try to tell youth about this stuff, they're like, oh, well, glad I wasn't born in that time. Well, you'll never know about that time. So it's easy to say that you rather not have been born during that time, because if you were, I think you would think very differently. I think that time was very pure, and it was very fun. I mean, believe it or not. And like I said, I've experienced both sides of it. And, like I said, I was born in the best time. I was able to see how life was to what it's become now.
Okay, thank you.